a day for Night Nation. This week, UCF was busy. Why were they busy and who did they end up getting in the portal? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Charge On. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green. Before we get started, as always, a quick word from our sponsor, BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hope everybody's doing good on this Friday, May 3rd. If you guys have been watching or listening, that's probably a better way to say it. If you guys have been listening to my other show, the UCF Report, where I go over all UCF sports on the Zoneheads Orlando podcast, you will know that I am on vacation. I am not in Orlando. I am on an Alaskan cruise, so I'm 4 hours behind my normal time zone. So I am filming this, on Thursday. Nick cannot be on for this very reason, because the coordinating times, he's going on vacation this weekend, I'm on vacation now. Too much of a hassle to get both of us on, but we really both wanted to be on. And of course, the most news realistically in this transfer portal cycle is happening when I am not home, able to really dissect a lot and be locked in. But listen, I bought the most expensive Wi-Fi I could on this ship to be able to record. So I feel like it's worth it in the end. I feel like it has become worth it because of all the news that has come out really in the one day. And I want to start with this. We're going to get into the 3 guys that UCF added on Wednesday. But I think the main thing that we're all seeing, and this is what I really wanted to get into. UCF obviously last season had a good entry into the Big 12, right? Like, realistically, in the regular season, you went 6-6, made a bowl game, disappointed in the bowl game, but you still did it. Most people, when they're looking at a second-year jump, right, they're saying, hey, 8 wins, that would be a really nice jump. To get to 8 wins, show some improvement. Well, then you add KJ Jefferson, and it's like, okay, well, there's still some holes on the roster, but the roster still looks really good. You have a lot of guys returning. How is the defense going to look? A lot of question marks, right? And you look at UCF, and you're saying, okay, like realistically, if we're looking from a non-biased perspective, you can realistically look at it and say UCF could finish, 4th or 5th in the Big 12 if everything goes really well. Now, it could go extremely well, and UCF's talking about Big 12 titles, stuff like that. The last couple months, really since the addition of KJ Jefferson and the changes in the coaching staff and the additions and subtractions even that you can, really think about, have made not so much mind shift, because I think we all were hyped for this season. And again, it all started when you added KJ, because I don't think, no offense to Timmy McClain, it sounds like he's going to Arkansas State, but no offense to Timmy McClain or Dylan Risk, because again, I think I have a lot of confidence in Dylan. I think everything I've heard out of Dylan, seen out of Dylan, he very well could be the starter next year. But, if Ja'Cory Brown doesn't do what he's supposed to do. But with Timmy McClain, there was a cap. There was if UCF can get to 7 or 8 wins, that'd be a successful year with Timmy McClain. Not saying that Timmy couldn't do it, but there's a limit to what Timmy's ceiling is, especially in this offense, right? Over the last 2 months, the mindset has shifted. Not so much shifted among the coaches, because I think the coaches and the team, it's always been the same mindset. I think the fans were saying, we don't know if we could win a Big 12 title the next year. But ever since you got KJ and you've made some of the moves that you have made, it is very clear what the mindset is. It is very clear that Gus and staff are going hardcore after the Big 12 title. Now, with that being said, I mean, again, a lot needs to break for them, right? A lot needs to go well for UCF to be in that position, right? You need health. You need a lot of good wins at home. You need to win and protect your home field. You need to win the 50-50 games that maybe you're not so sure that you can win. You have to win your conference games. Those are all things leading up to the season that we can dissect. And again, it comes down to what you do on the field. You can have the best roster in college football, but if you can't go out on the field and execute, it doesn't matter. But UCF is turning themselves, and it was already, remember, we've discussed this over however many years we've been doing this, but UCF is turning the narrative into, oh, UCF is a sleeping giant. I think after this portal cycle, the sleeping giant has awoken. It's no more UCF as a sleeping giant. And we'll see where they end in the 2025 class rankings, where they end up. It's got many, many months until the class ends. But I think this is just the first inclination, not even inclination. This is the first wake up to the rest of the country that UCF is no longer this sleeping giant or is number 4 out of 4. And they're not included in the big 3, or they're not a big 4. UCF is a power in the state. They were when they were before they were in the Big 12. Now they certainly are. And listen, UCF's still going to lose. I mean, Zandamela, he went to Florida. It was between UCF and Florida. Not saying UCF is going to win every battle here, right? But UCF is making a claim and stating their claim to say, we are no longer this under-the-radar team. We are coming to get what we think we deserve and we think we can earn, which is the Big 12 title. And at the same time, we're going to steal and take a bunch of the top players that many teams want, especially in the portal. UCF has always been a good portal team. After the May 1st, it's being proven that UCF can go after and get anybody that they so choose, especially in the portal and in the freshman ranks. And again, that's exciting. It's really hype in May that you can get excited about players that are coming to your program, right? The only issue is it's all fun now. It's fun. But when you get to September and October, what is the team looking like? How are you running certain things? And it's good to be excited now. I want to make that very clear. We can be excited. I am so pumped. This is exciting. This is an exciting time for UCF, for the players that they're bringing in. We just have to see when the time comes how it gets implemented. Well, let's talk. Let's talk quickly. This is not going to be a long episode. Again, I'm on vacation. I want to get out and enjoy my vacation. But we're going to discuss all these guys, right? So let's look at who UCF has added over the last couple days. Now, I'm going to talk about this briefly because if you watched or if you listened to my UCF report on Tuesday, I talked about Ja'Curry Brown. He committed early in the week. Big time ad. I think the 2025 quarterback competition is going to be very interesting. Very interesting. I think, obviously, if you think about a leader in the clubhouse for the 2025 competition, it's definitely Brown. I mean, again, he's got the makeups, 6'4", 220, going to sit behind KJ for a year. Probably can learn a lot from a guy like KJ. So again, if you had to really put a bet on anybody, it's going to be him. And for the staff to be able to get quarterback depth in this transfer cycle, you lost Timmy, you replaced it with a younger guy who has some experience, not much experience like a Timmy McClain, but a guy that can play and a guy that can play many years. He's got 3 years of eligibility. So For the staff to be able to go do that is absolutely huge. And again, the sky's the limit for him. Definitely needs to improve on a couple things. But again, to be able to get depth this late into the portal, and quality depth, not some, random quarterback that probably will never see the field. It's a guy that, God forbid, if KJ goes down, you feel like, hey, we can still win football games with this guy. And he can improve and get better this year, hopefully sitting behind KJ, to where next year you don't go in completely blind into the Big 12 like, who's our quarterback? Do we need to go to the transfer portal? Because you don't want to go into the transfer portal every year. The transfer portal is designed to get bridge guys. Now, it's not being used like that. The transfer portal is not being used like that right now. It's teams that want an automatic win now every single year if they need a quarterback. It's supposed to... the transfer portal is designed to have guys with 1 year left or 2 years left to go to a quarterback needy team and have him start and then get the younger guy ready. So I'm excited to see what Brown could do potentially. Obviously, hope we don't see him this year, but hope that he comes in and learns as much as humanly possible. All right, let's talk about the big one. And I mean, they're all big. Let's call it like it is. The first one, though, I find interesting, and I want to get your guys' take on it. Please drop in the comments below what your take is. Penny Boone. Now, there was a lot of smoke around Boone. I mean, was at Toledo, or was originally at Maryland. Transferred to Toledo. Then he transferred out of Toledo this past fall cycle. And played with Louisville this spring, and then left Louisville. Now there's some rumors he was going to go to Kentucky, but I guess a lot of his classes didn't transfer to Kentucky. Who knows? But he was a top 10 running back in this transfer class. He was the top running back on the board when it came to transfer running backs. 6'1", 230. And again, if you look at his stats last year, ran for 1,400 yards last year, 15 touchdowns. Dude is a stud. UCF is going to have a top 10, if not top 5, backfield in the entire college football landscape. You got a guy like R.J. Harvey, K.J. Jefferson, Johnny Richardson, and Penny Boone. I mean, I don't know who's going to be able to stop UCF running the football. There's only one thing that could stop UCF from running the football, and that's the offensive line. If the offensive line does what the offensive line's supposed to do, this should be a fairly easy task for UCF. They can run the ball 70% of the time and pick up probably 7 to 8 yards a carry with how many good backs. I would love to see some 2-back sets. Put both RJ and Penny, and again, you can have Johnny out there too at certain times. But you can have both those guys out there and make it really difficult to run defenses against UCF. Because it's like, okay, are you going to hand it off to RJ Harvey, Penny Boone, or is KJ just going to take it and run? Or is it a play action? The UCF offense is scary for defenses. So it's up to Gus Malzahn and staff to figure out best to use all these guys. Because I'll be honest, I was confused. If I'm Penny Boone, I think he has 2 years of eligibility. Many thought it was only 1. So originally when I thought it was only 1, I'm like, why would you come to UCF? RJ Harvey is the clear-cut back. But then you think about it, if it's like, okay, if he has 2 years, okay, he's back up this year, and then in 25, you're the starting back. And then guess what? Then you have succession plans for Penny Boone. Because you have so many young guys ready to be, they're waiting in the wings, ready to go. Tavion Swint coming in. You have Stacey Gage, Frankie Arthur. You've got guys that will only need to sit for about a year, and you have the succession plan for the running back room. It's a huge addition. Huge addition for UCF. It's just going to be how you implement him into the offense. How quick can he get up to speed? But again, he was one of the top running backs in the portal, and you add that to an already stacked running back room. And when I say stacked, I mean RJ Harvey, Johnny Richardson. UCF needed another running back. They have Miles Montgomery too. We don't talk about Miles Montgomery. Miles Montgomery came in as a transfer has sounded like he's been stating a claim and making a name for himself in the spring. So again, they needed another running back. I just didn't expect it to be a top-tier running back or portal running back like Penny Boone. Interested to see how he gets worked out in the fall and worked into the offense. But when you bring in a guy like that, ran for 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, you have to find a way to get him involved in the offense behind R.J. Harvey. R.J. Harvey's clear-cut number one option. Boone should be right behind him. All right. Next guy that got announced. Now, this is a guy I wish Nick was here. Because this is a guy that me and Nick, but specifically Nick, really wanted. And that's Jacoby Jones. Now, Jacoby Jones, let me just say, was injured last year a little bit. Year before looked really good. He was wanted by basically every type of school. I know a lot of Michigan fans wanted him. 6'3", 228. And dude's a stud. Dude is a stud. If you go watch his tape, talk about a guy like, here's the thing. And now I want to make this clear. We know, I think I said this on last week's episode or the week before. You never know if these guys are going to see the field, right? Ryan Davis. I keep bringing up Ryan Davis. Georgia linebacker. You assume we need a linebacker to start. We don't know if that position is going to be that good this year. You got a Georgia linebacker, you play him. Didn't see the field at all. At all, right? So when I talk about these guys, like the next one I'm going to talk about after Jacoby Jones, they look really good on paper. At the end of the day, it's going to be, can they contribute? Are they going to contribute? Or are they really good depth pieces that in case somebody goes down? In Jacoby Jones' case, listen, I think he has if he comes in and he's healthy and he shows out, he has a viable shot to be the number 3 receiver, right? 6'3", goes up, gets ball, fast, right? And again, you have 2 wide receivers right now. Kobe Hudson, Xavier Townsend. You don't know who the third is. That's what we've been talking about all spring. Who's going to be that third guy? We thought maybe Burdell Richardson. His name's been popping up a lot after the spring. But at the end of the day, we don't know who that third guy is. So you go out, you get an extra receiver for depth, which is needed. You need depth at receiver. I think UCF has some good depth. Doesn't hurt to add a guy like this. A top guy in the portal when it comes to the receiving room. You bring him in a high-powered offense and see what happens. And listen, again, remember all the receivers UCF brought in over the last 2 years through the transfer portal. You think, they might get some time, and then they hit the field and they don't play at all. So you never know with the receiving room. All you can hope for is that they come in, show out, and they play. And if not, you hope that they're really good depth pieces, that God forbid an injury happens, you have a high quality, high top tier, technically starter just sitting on your bench. That's what's going to be so good about what UCF has done in the portal. All right, and finally, Sheldon Arnold. Now, Sheldon Arnold, a lot of people that was late in the day on Wednesday. And again, came from ETSU, DB. People were like, oh, okay, this is good. This is a good ad. We need DBs. We don't know about Cormani McClain, if he's coming to UCF or if he's going somewhere else. It got reported that he's going to be announcing in about a week or two. UCF needs depth, especially at DB. And there's certain positions you just need a lot of depth. That is one of them. And then you look at it. He was a 2023 first-team FCS All-American. So you bring in an All-American. Okay, that's great. Which UCF is also fixing to bring in a defensive lineman that is, or an edge guy that's wasn't also FCS All-American. So we'll talk about that if that happens. But there was a bunch of these guys, or a lot of accounts on Twitter, reputable guys, saying this could be a day one starter for UCF. And you're looking at it and you're like, now granted, we've heard that before, right? We've heard that before with transfer guys. And UCF has some really top tier DBs and safeties already on the field. But if you got guys saying this could be a automatic day one starter plug-in guy for UCF, again, when you talk about what did Gus say? When we entered the Big 12, Gus said depth is going to be crucial. That's the biggest difference between non-Power 5 at the time and Power 5, now Power 4, is the depth that you have. And I think Gus thought that they had decent depth until they got into the Big 12 and realized we could be better. So to get a guy like Sheldon Arnold, who many consider can be a day one plug-in starter for UCF, who most likely, if I'm being honest, won't start day one, will probably be a backup to somebody. Again, it's huge for UCF, and if you're talking UCF going to the Big 12 championship game, is that if that's the thought process of UCF is trying to get to that game, well, they're doing and they're making the necessary steps to get to that point. Now, again, we have many months, a lot of changes. The portal's closed, so nobody's entering the portal anymore. Players can choose where they go, but nobody can enter the portal. So UCF's roster is locked in terms of nobody can leave it, right? It's going to be up to UCF, though. It's going to be up to the players, the coaches, to get 100% ready and locked in for the season. And when the season's here, you have all of the talent, roster talent in the country. Can you make the necessary needs and adjustments to go out and win the Big 12? Because it's very doable. And you're fixing, I don't know why I keep saying fixing. I don't talk in country slang too much. UCF is primed and ready, like I've always said, to take over the Big 12. They're primed and ready. And a couple days ago, it just showed why. Players want to come here. Players want to play here. And if it's not this year, well, UCF's taking over the Big 12 very soon. But it would not shock me in the slightest. With these moves, it would not shock me in the slightest if UCF was in the Big 12 title game and potentially winning the Big 12 title game come December. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Charge On. Please follow me everywhere at Sean M. R. Green. If you want even more UCF content, please go check out on Zoneheads Orlando, the UCF report we posted every single Tuesday covering every single sport at UCF. And please subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that you do. We greatly appreciate it to here at Charge On. Again, we release a new episode every single Friday in the off season, so please continue checking us out. We greatly appreciate it. All right, everybody, this has been Charge On presented by Bet Online. We will see you next week.